What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. My name is Attorney Jasmine Mullen Allen with JMA LAW PLC, and you are here because you want to know more about the e-contracts bundle. You want to know more about an operating agreement, an independent contractor agreement, a non-disclosure agreement, or a copyright assignment agreement. So it sounds really lawyerly and complicated, these terms that you may not recognize, but today I'm going to break it down for you so you understand what each agreement is and the purpose and function and why your business as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, why you need it. Okay, so in case you guys did not know, I'm running a major promo right now for whoever watches these videos throughout. You have to watch the whole video because the reason why I did that is because we need to be educated on these things. Black-owned businesses, entrepreneurs, small business owners, we don't have access to capital and generational wealth because we're misinformed. We don't know how to protect our property. We don't know how to protect our liability, both personal and business liability. We don't know how to, just protect ourselves all the way around to maximize the amount of money that we can make. And so I want us to get this information. That is my passion. We have to get this information so that way we can set the groundwork. We can lay the foundation to build multi-billions businesses are filled with investments and wealth and partners and employees and enterprises, right? And so I hid these promo codes within these videos because I thought it was a clever way to get you guys to watch everything. You know how our teachers used to do when we was in college. You can't just fast forward through. You got to watch the whole thing. So yes. All right, so let's hop into the independent contractor agreement. This is one of my favorite contracts and one of the most important ones. So let's back up. Who is entering into an independent contractor agreement? It's typically a business, okay? So I'll use Brand Better with Jazz, my business, as an example. And an outside person, an outside company, or somebody that they're going to be working with in order to serve the business's customers and or clients. I think a good example of this is building houses, right? So I'm blessed, we are blessed, we were able to build our house last year. We moved in August of 2021, okay? So one important thing that I noticed about the building process is you have the company, that you're actually working with to buy the house and pick out, your preferences and, you're settling on the price. Then you have that separate company who's doing the lending, right? They're not necessarily with that company, but they typically have an independent contractor agreement with them where this company is the one that's actually selling the house and quite frankly owns the homes. And this company is the lender who's contracted with them to help serve the buyer, okay? So that's the first contractor relationship right there, is with the lender and with the selling company. And I'm trying to do this without getting into who we went through or whatever, but it was Ryan Homes. They were great. Then you have all these other contractor agreements because Ryan Homes themselves aren't single-handedly getting out there and building the house. Like our sales guy isn't coming up here, you know what I mean, and literally like laying the foundation for the house. No, they outsource that work. They have contractors, and those of you that are within the building, you guys know you can be a contractor, right? Like to come in and do certain parts. Some of them are laying the foundation and doing like the structure. Some of them are doing like the electricity. Some of them are responsible for like the water and plumbing, right? They all have different responsibilities and they all have independent contractor agreements. Why? What is the purpose? A, is much cheaper. Like, why doesn't Ryan Homes just, okay, like all you guys are just employees of Ryan Homes, right? And this is just my understanding, right? I'm not sure if this is actually how they do it, but this is my understanding that these guys are contractors. It's cheaper. Like, you already have your business. You're already building houses out here. Why not we have this continual contractor agreement where you're coming in and partnering with our business to provide this service or this product to our clients and our customers, okay? So it's cheaper. You limit your liability, right? I don't know specifically what's going on in their agreement, but in most contractor agreements, the base business isn't responsible for the negligence, right? Or the errors or the malfeasance of the contractor. They're responsible for that. Your business is responsible for that. We don't have nothing to do with that, right? Because we hired you for A and you went on and you did this or you messed something up, okay? Now, the important thing is I can speak on what's typical in a contractor relationship, but it all comes down to what the two parties agree to. That's what's governing, right? I'm not going to get into it too much, but one thing you still have to think about is regardless of what the two parties agree to, the IRS has their guidelines for what's considered a contractor. The state has their guidelines for what's considered a contractor. Judges, you know, they go by statutes and cases that's governing authority on what's considered a contractor. And so you may say, hey, I work for such and such business as a contractor. I get there from 9 to 5. And when I get there, they tell me everything that I need to do. And they pay me such and such amount of money every 2 weeks. And, you know, I get like retirement and all these benefits. You could have an independent contractor agreement all day long, but if it gets in front of a judge, they're going to say, no, this is an employee situation. Okay, so I think it's important. There's two things at work here. I'm advising business owners on the importance of contractor agreements to protect your business, but you also want to be advised on how you have to actually work in that thing. Like, you know, if you have all this behavioral control over what that person does, they're going to look like an employee. Or, you know, you are dictating all these different things, or they have to come in or work this amount of hours, and this is how they're supposed to execute their job. They're going to look like an employee regardless of what's in that contractor agreement. So you have to protect yourself on that end as well. That's a different video and a different conversation, but it's important to say. Okay, so as I stated, those of you who watch this entire video is going to get the code, the secret code for the 50% discount. Okay, 50%, which means you'll be able to purchase these contracts for $200 total. All right, the code, the first word for the code is founders, F-O-U-N-D-E-R-S. Stay tuned to get the second word. Going back to the actual agreement. Why is it important to have this? One, you need them to know that they're not your employee, but they are their own contractor. They're hired for a specific purpose. This is how much they're going to get paid. You're not responsible for no unemployment insurance. You're not responsible for workers' comp. You're not responsible for a bunch of things, because guess what? You're not my employee. You're a contractor. Additionally, what you create. So going back to, you know, the building, those contractors can't build the house and then say, all right, like, let's sell it now. Can't do that. What you create, what you build, what comes out of this relationship, we own. We're paying you for a service so that we then can provide it to our clients and our customers. All of that is in your contractor agreement. People may say, okay, Jasmine, like, we know what a contractor is, but just imagine like having this and don't have a contract. Like, the contractor can easily say, no, I did it. I built it. I created it. It's mine. What's stopping them from assuming it as theirs? Like, they can do that because they did make it. They can do that. The only thing that's stopping them is the agreement that they agreed to, releasing all rights to that thing. And the contractor agreement, as you may have noticed, overlaps with the copyright assignment a lot when it comes to who owns this thing after it's done. I'll just use a publishing company as an example. A publishing company may outsource a lot of its services, right? They have to get somebody to do the artwork. They might get somebody to do the editing. They might get somebody else to fit everything on the pages. Everything might not come through their publishing company, especially if it's a small business. So they have all these contractor agreements with these people in order to create this book for their client. And it's very important that they have this agreement, because if not, hey, guess what? The artwork that the illustrator just created for this book, they can just use it for something else. They could just use it for themselves. They could just sell it. They could say, look, hey, I did a beautiful job. This is actually my best work. You know what? Here y'all go, but I'm gonna keep a copy for me, and I'm gonna use it for something I'm gonna work on later and sell it. Like, it can get that messy when you don't have an independent contractor agreement. Now, if you have an independent contractor agreement, you can address the intellectual property there, where you don't need a copyright assignment agreement in addition to that. You can almost like include the copyright assignment provisions inside the independent contractor agreement that releases those rights to the business. I think the copyright assignment agreement is more essential when there's not this ongoing independent contractor relationship, right? Like, if I'm just getting you to create me a logo, I don't necessarily need an entire independent contractor agreement. I just need you to release the rights to the logo to me. So just sign this copyright assignment agreement. Some other things that are addressed in an independent contractor agreement might be a little bit similar to the operating agreement that we talked about, where, you know, what do we do about confidential information, trade secrets, all those things. The contractor has to know that this is the business's. They can't just take some things that they've gathered from your business from working on this particular project and just take it and run with it and use it for themselves. But in that agreement, you know, they release all rights. They can't share that information with anybody. That's the businesses. Also, liability. You know, businesses, a general rule, businesses are not responsible for the negligence or malfeasance of the contractor, right? Their own business is responsible for that. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule depending on the jurisdiction that you're in, but generally, the business is not responsible for the contractor's mistakes. They have to pay for it. They have to make up for it. It's on them. Now, we know for the employee, you know, you're under the authority. It's called vicarious liability. You're under the authority of your employer. And so, you know, you mess up, they have to pay for it, especially if it's during your job. Like, you're doing your job during your work hours under the description that they gave you, and you mess up, that's on the business. That's on the employer. The benefit of a contractor agreement is that's not on the employer, that's on the contractor. This is very important because these things happen, and what are you going to do when they happen? Because guess what? You're going to have a client on the other side that doesn't care whose fault it is. They're just going to want it resolved. They're just going to want their money back. They're going to want a do-over. They're going to want a refund. And so are you going to put that money on the contractor? You know, are there certain exceptions where, okay, if this happens, the business will take care of it. But if this happens, it's the contract. How do we know? How do we know? Because you have an agreement, and it's called an independent contractor agreement. Thanks for making it this far for this video. The second word for the promo code is flex. You've already heard the first word. I spelled it out for you guys. The second word is flex. F-L-E-X. So you take the first word, you put it with the second word, and you'll be able to get your 50% discount for the e-contracts bundle. So guys, remember, for these contracts, I'm giving you a brief overview of the importance of these contracts, right? You can schedule a power hour business strategy call with me for $100 where I actually get into the weeds of the contract tailor-made for your business. How can your business most benefit from this contract? And moreover, what can I do to assist you, right? You have an attorney here. You don't like this certain provision? All right, let's revise it, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the services that I offer. We'll talk about the ways that I can revise it and make it most beneficial to you, and some things that may be some additional things that may be needed. Because mind you, these contracts are governing the dealings and interactions with this other party. So when something goes wrong, We hope that nothing goes wrong, but it's life. Like, things always go wrong. When you guys are in front of a judge, you can say, here, judge, this is the agreement that we have in place. That's typical for most jurisdictions. The judges are going to use the agreements that the parties agreed to, okay? That's the law. That's the governing authority for that matter. Be sure to catch the rest of the videos regarding the other e-contracts bundle, because if this was beneficial to you, those will be as well. Okay, so thank you for tuning in, and I hope that this provided some wisdom, insights for you to take a step further in your business, and I wish you the best. All of my services are listed on my website at www.jmalaw.org.